Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to Facebook Careers Live. My name is Amy and I'm a recruiter on the APAC recruiting team. Today, we'll be giving you an insight into the world of partnerships at Facebook. Partnerships is an extremely dynamic and diverse team that works with many different organizations, companies, and individuals, enabling them to be successful by using Facebook's tools and services. Partnerships is growing rapidly, and this year we've incorporated new teams into the APAC organization. The two teams that we have in focus today are Marketplace and Audience Network, and I'm really excited to have with me two of our partnership leaders, Ashwin, Director for Audience Network, and Christine, Director for Marketplace Partnerships, to share with us more about their teams. So Ashwin, Christine, please go ahead, introduce yourselves and share with us more about what you do at Facebook.
I'll start off first. Christine Chia, I look after Marketplace Partnerships for the Asia Pacific region. Have been with Facebook for 1.5 years across a couple of roles. This is my second role in Facebook, and Marketplace is a relatively new team in the region. We are about 6 months old, building up the team, building up the product, and it's a really exciting space.
Hi, thank you for having us. This is Ashwin. I lead the Audience Network business for APAC. I've been here for almost 3 years. Next week is my 3-year face anniversary.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. So let's start with you, Christine. Can you tell us more about Marketplace by Facebook and what prompted Facebook to enter the e-commerce space and to build Marketplace?
Sure. Marketplace at Facebook is the single one destination on Facebook that allows for buyers and sellers to come discover, buy, sell goods and services. It's a really interesting space that we have cornered because we have noticed a lot of organic activities on Facebook when it comes to commerce, and we want to allow for that to be able to thrive further in Facebook. Some of these activities have resonated through organic behaviors from users in buy-sell groups. So many of us probably have at some point in time gone into these groups and discovered new items in there, and sellers have actually found this to be a great place to actually look for new discovery of buyers who wants to actually buy some of the goods that they either made or have discovered and want to share. We have also profiles where individuals are actually selling through their profiles whilst they are interacting with their friends and family. They've decided that it's a great place to build on their own community and buy and sell items. On top of that, there are of course businesses that come onto the platform through pages to build their business and seek discovery. And lastly, advertising has been a great place to actually drive a lot of the discovery work. So with all these activities that's been resonating in Facebook, we want to make sure that we're able to tap into that, allow for users not just to come onto Facebook to actually build meaningful interactions, but also discover and build meaningful interactions on commerce. And part of doing that in a meaningful way and structured way is to be able to create a different surface environment on Facebook so that if you are a seller that's looking for greater discovery from people who are interested in commerce, or you're a buyer who wants to shop and just spend your time looking for new things, that's a great place to actually go into. We call this Marketplace because we feel that this is a great name for something that resonates across any markets that we have a presence in. And the example I always give is if you think about how commerce has thrived in India, and Indians will probably resonate best with bazaars as a way to actually buy, sell things and discover things. And in Asia, in Southeast Asia, street markets are probably the best way to think about how buy-sell activities happen. In order to make it as localized globally everywhere, Marketplace feels like the right place to allow for everyone and anyone to actually come to an environment and discover, buy, sell new things.
Great, thanks so much. And Ashwin, can you share more about Audience Network? People might not necessarily be familiar with that term. So if you could share more about what that is and also how it has shaped the advertising community and how it helps marketeers to meet their business objectives.
Sure. So similar to the rest of Facebook, we're a very mission-driven team. The mission for the Audience Network team is to help publishers and app developers and content owners make meaningful connections between businesses and people. We do that by allowing advertisers that are on Facebook to reach the people that they care about off Facebook in different surfaces. This is great for advertisers because they can reach more people in more places. It's great for the people because they see meaningful ads that are close to them and close to their heart, no matter where they are on the internet.
Yep.
And then it's great for publishers because we're helping them create very long-term sustainable businesses by ensuring that when it comes to monetization, we're able to provide them the highest value possible.
Great, awesome. So back to you, Christine. Given that Marketplace has recently launched in APAC, how will Marketplace differentiate itself from other players in the market?
There are a number of areas where Facebook is uniquely different from other e-commerce players in the market or in any marketplace. I would say that there are 4 distinct areas that we stand out as a big difference. Firstly, identity. Facebook is known to have a great collection of identity about individuals and businesses. That's the reason why people come here and actually build those connections and relationships. As a buyer, you would want to be able to know who you're buying from and who you're interacting with, especially if it's a brand or a business that is unknown to you. We are able to provide that level of identity in terms of where the seller, what have the seller sold, what are the items they're selling, where's their location, what sort of activities and what sort of profile have they had in Facebook. Likewise, for the seller, it's great for them to be able to know who they're selling to, especially in an environment where there's a lot of used goods that's being traded individual to individual. You want to make sure that you're comfortable being able to trade with someone else that you may not be familiar with, and we give them that ability to establish that identity and trust.
Awesome.
The next thing would be audience. The amount of audience that we're able to establish for both the businesses that are actually coming on looking for discovery amongst buyers, and the ability for buyers to actually come onto this environment where a lot of businesses are actually selling their goods through the commerce activities that we're seeing. So again, it's all about the ability for us to enrich that discovery experience on both sides of the commerce experience. It is very convenient to use. It's easy for you to go in there and list if you're an individual looking to list an item, or a business that's looking to actually find discovery. It's free for businesses, and so again, the experience will be great for businesses who are starting out new and looking for something that's efficient and yet has good reach for them to engage with buyers. Across the globe. And the last one would be the ability for us to actually connect users through communication channels that we have, and potentially even in some markets, payments. So if you think about Asia in particular, conversational commerce is a great behavior and a growing behavior that we're observing. Businesses want to further enhance that trust by the ability to actually engage with users through some form of chat. And we have allowed that either on WhatsApp or Messenger, and in some instances we have allowed that on payments to actually happen on those platforms as well. So that becomes a really rounded experience for buyers and sellers to be able to drive the interaction and close a transaction.
Great. And 6 months in, what have you learned about the e-commerce landscape in APAC, and what has been the most powerful indicators of growth?
The APAC is really unique, and we did not really discover that difference until we started driving a lot of this engagement over the last 6 months in APAC. So if I take a couple of steps back, we launched Marketplace about 1.5 years back in the US. Again, it's tapping into organic behaviors that we're seeing on the platform, and those behaviors in developed markets like the US and Europe were more skewed towards used goods that were being marketed on the platform. We were pulling a lot of this organic inventory from within the platform, again, buy-sell groups and profile sellers that are selling, and bring them onto Marketplace so that we concentrate the activities. A lot of this inventory that we're seeing are from the used goods category. What we have noticed is as we tap into that, even in Asia, we think that there's a lot of those inventory that sits on organically on the platform in Asia. But after launching it, after putting those inventory into the market, what we notice is both from the seller side and from the buyer side, what resonates most are new goods. So small home entrepreneurs, small businesses that are coming onto Facebook, setting their business up for the first time, finding a lot of discovery, finding a lot of engagement and consumption from buyers, and building their business off that. So what we have now as a partnership team have learned is to then latch on to those behaviors and drive a lot of these partnership activities with commerce players in the region that are looking for more discovery on Facebook, to bring those inventory to Facebook, and allowing for the users and the buyers on the platform to see things that they're more excited about.
Great.
In terms of measurement of success, there's really 2 key things that we look at. we want to make sure that we have the ability to connect buyers and sellers and enabling that connection through commerce. And to do that is about the ability for us to actually bring more user participation onto Marketplace. And at the same time with that, drive a lot more value creation for businesses that are coming onto Marketplace to seek those discovery.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. And Ashwin, you know, what are the latest and most exciting offerings that publishers can enjoy this year?
So there's a lot, but you know, it's important to understand the history of how we got started. So when the Audience Network got started, we started predominantly as an in-app ad network, and the primary ad format that we went to market with was native ads. So very similar to what you would see in feed. Since then, given our mission to be able to enable connections between businesses and people, it's important to go where the people are. And so we've expanded the number of surfaces that we reach. We launched initially mobile web. We also power ads within Instant Articles, which is on Facebook Experience. But the most exciting thing that we've launched in the recent times is the concept of bidding. And so if you go back and you look at the way traditionally ads have been run in the ad tech ecosystem, most of it comes from a mediation or a waterfall type of arrangement where if you're a publisher or an app developer, you spend a lot of time optimizing for all your demand sources. And so the way you typically land up doing it is you're working with a lot of different partners, you have your own direct sales teams, and what you land up doing is, you know, you're probably saying, first call my direct sales team because I've already sold that and I want to show that ad first. And then you're calling a number of partners in serial order. And in some ways, you're guessing as to who you think is going to serve the most valuable ad. Bidding changes this whole dynamic. And so the concept of bidding that we've introduced is that if you're a publisher, app developer, content owner, when you have a place to show an ad, you call everybody in parallel instead of going and guessing which order to call people in. By people, I mean demand partners. And so you call everybody in parallel and then let the highest bid win. And so we believe that in the long term, this is what is going to change the way ad tech works overall, where if you're a publisher, you're looking at yield optimization and you're trying to make sure that you're showing the most valuable ads first, the most relevant ads first. And that's what we're pushing into the ecosystem now with bidding.
Great. I mean, that sounds really exciting, and it sounds like the team has been really busy doing amazing work. So would you be able to share, you know, some of the significant milestones that Audience Network has achieved in APAC?
Sure. So I think bidding relatively is new. We're starting to work with a handful of beta partners in the region, and that's going really, really well. Lots of initial success. But one of the things that we do in the Audience Network is that we try to follow where consumers spend time. And so in terms of in parallel to bidding, one of the other things that we're focused on is really gaming as a vertical. And so the reason gaming is important for us is because when you think about the ability to reach people wherever they are, you look at where people are spending time on their phones. And no matter which market you look at, you will see that a large chunk of the time spent by consumers is really around games. And so a while ago, we launched the rewarded video ad format, which essentially, if you're playing a game, and if you think about a casual game that you're playing, and you run out of lives, consumers opt in to interact with an ad in exchange for some value within that game. And so we launched this format, and this has been amazing. We've seen some amazing traction with this. To give you some names of partners that have recently launched with us, in terms of success, we've got Baidu and Zhenjoy from China. And so we're helping them monetize their games through rewarded video for the users that they have on their games outside of China. Another good example of this is BitMango in Korea. So these are examples of partners that have recently gained a lot of traction with us for rewarded video.
Great. I'm definitely someone who has watched an advert for Lives as well. But what about global then? Any global milestones and highlights that you'd like to share?
Sure. I mean, there's tons of partners. Maybe I'll take a couple of names. So a good example of this is Gram Games that's launched with us. They're a Turkey-based game developer. And then also Goji, which is from North America.
Great. Okay. And Christine, given that your team is relatively new, as you build your team, what are some of the highlights that you've achieved so far?
Like you say, the team is relatively new. We are growing, so we spent a fair amount of time really building and hiring amazing people into the team, and learning about the region and how commerce activities works in this region. We do believe that marketplace should not be dedicated to just any single vertical or category, and so it should be an environment where anything that anyone wants to buy, sell, should find a home in marketplace now or eventually. And in order for us to unlock that, it means the ability for us to spend time understanding and discovering those opportunities and tapping into some of them, building on them, going deeper into some of them. So some of the key milestones that we have checked off this last 6 months have been centered around building up the e-commerce opportunity in a couple of markets like India and Southeast Asia, where we have partnered with a couple of big e-commerce partners and bring discovery of their goods onto marketplace. We've also launched a couple of interesting use cases like movie ticketing in India and in Thailand, and we've started to test a couple of deal formats as well on marketplace. All very nascent, very early days, but again, it's part of our own discovery experience as well. Globally, we have actually launched a couple of new use cases that we are looking to actually bring onto Asia at some point. And so that would be the ability for people to trade used cars and discover used cars in the US and also in Europe. We have also allowed for users to actually come onto marketplace and partners to actually share their inventory on rentals as well in the US. We've also launched the ability to discover jobs, services, home services onto marketplace. So again, to my point, there are a lot of use cases that we can actually light up in marketplace. As long as there's a business that's looking for discovery and there are buyers who are interested to actually pick up those goods and services, we want to make sure that there will always be a home on marketplace.
That's really interesting. So it'd be great to hear from both of you actually. What is your vision for the team and what are your top 3 priorities in the next 6 to 12 months?
Ashwin?
Sure. So, even though the Audience Network business has been around for a little under 4 years, when you think about the ad tech ecosystem, we think about it as being fairly nascent. And like I mentioned, with the move towards new technologies like bidding, I think there's a whole bunch of new things that we need to do to enable our partners to move in that direction. If I was to kind of think about the next 6 to 12 months, the number one thing that the team and I wake up thinking about is we want to be the most valuable and trusted partner for publishers, app developers, and content owners when they think about building long-term sustainable businesses. And so what that entails is a few things. One, we're focused on making sure that we have adequate coverage in APAC. Asia Pacific is very diverse, and so we've kind of gone and built out teams for each of the regions, and we continue to do that. Second is ensuring that all of the new products and formats that we're launching, we're able to take those to each of those markets. And so it's almost like if you think about one vector being markets and the other being new products and ad formats, that's a lot of work that we're trying to push. And then the third piece really is thinking about how do we make this sustainable and make it viable in the long term, and that's got to do with things like bidding.
Absolutely. Great. Christine?
So whilst Marketplace is a younger business compared to Audience Network, what's been really exciting is the amount of traction that we've seen on Marketplace. So globally, we are at about 800 million users that have come to Marketplace, come to Facebook, and buy, sell, engage on commerce activities on Facebook, which is really promising, and we are excited to see how many more of our users will actually come onto Marketplace and drive some of these commerce activities. We are live in 80 countries globally now, and so with that, that sort of traction that we're seeing, we want to make sure that over the next 6 to 12 months, at least in the APAC region, to continue to look at how we can actually take a product that looks global but has to act more locally and be relevant locally, to scale it in a meaningful way across the region. there are still many markets that we have launched that we have yet to actually discover how different commerce activities are in those markets. And given that we come from this region, we truly believe that every single country and market in this region is uniquely different from another. And there shouldn't be a situation where we're looking at scaling by just replicating something. Right? There's always a solution for us to launch with something that we know has worked, but we need to be quick enough to be able to localize it to make sure that it resonates with the users in those markets. And so that's a really big, important responsibility that the team has. On top of that, we want to make sure that we are understanding what sort of verticals resonate in different countries. And as I talk through some of these verticals that we have actually launched globally, we want to make sure that we're picking the right verticals to actually bring in that experience and create that diverse engagement and experience for the users and businesses to be discovered on Marketplace. The last piece that's really important for myself and my team is investing the time as we think about building up new teams to create the right team culture and create the right team environment so that the team can look at how they can come together and grow as a team, bring the right value for the users on the platform, the businesses on the platform, and make this a truly exciting product in this region.
Absolutely, great. And I think something that we always talk about is the importance of cross-functional collaboration, which we call XFN. So how essential is cross-functional collaboration in your teams, and how do you go about achieving that?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most talked about topics when we think about teams, right? So I think similar to it from an audience network perspective, similar to the rest of Facebook, almost everything that we do hinges on cross-functional collaboration. And we've, over a period of time, we've built many formal and informal ways to enable that. So it starts from, when you're thinking about projects, or you're thinking about new initiatives that you're launching in the market, it starts from first, before you jump into it, stepping back and really identifying the cross-functional stakeholders. And so almost every person on the team does that. They have they kind of map out, look, here are the internal partners that are going to be important to what I'm doing, or these are the folks that I want to make sure are in the loop. And so, you think about internal stakeholders, you think about whether they are decision makers, whether they're people that you want to inform, and you start with that. The next piece that you come up with is you identify, well, what's the goal? What are we trying to do here? And so you build out a framework in terms of how you're collaborating with who. And then the third piece comes with building either joint goals or metrics that you're going to track to ensure that the project that you're working on is progressing adequately. And so, and then eventually, hopefully, leading to successful outcomes. But I think, so that's kind of on the more formal process of how you think about cross-functional stakeholders or cross-functional collaboration. The reality, I think, is that we work so closely with so many different teams that one of my favorite things about the Facebook culture is you don't think of people as colleagues, right? You land up being friends. And so I think that's the really cool part, which is people just land up feeling like one team because they all feel like one family, they feel like they're friends. And so that's the more informal part, which naturally, I think, culminates into people just working together as one team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love the friends reference because I think when you go too deep into the function that you're at, you limit yourself in terms of what could be relevant for your product, right? So in Marketplace, you think about certain categories that are very relevant. And interestingly, there's been a couple of other teams that's in Facebook, that are friends, that have actually come and challenged me, like, have you ever thought about gaming on Marketplace? Like, have you thought about selling games on Marketplace? Like, really didn't cross my mind. And that's how you really expand the scope of what could happen. And that's the beauty of building friends of cross-functional teams and leveraging cross-functional teams. I do fundamentally believe that the great thing about Facebook is we do believe that nothing is successful or we can actually build good products without the dependency and collaboration of cross-functional teams. And that's how we have actually thrived, at least in Marketplace, across partnerships team. Like, the reason why we are partnerships team is because we are reliant on not just external partners, but internal partners as well. I have a very small team, and we are looking at growing this product across multiple markets very aggressively. And the only way we can actually truly function and go in depth into a market and learn about who's out there, what sort of behaviors out there, is by depending on our cross-functional team members and colleagues to help us learn that at scale. And so that includes having a lot of our peers across different sales organization, research organization, product and eng to teach us about the markets that they know, or help us uncover new things that we may not know. Help us establish new partnerships, new relationships, bridge some of those initial conversations, do a really good handover and facilitating a lot of those initial conversations. And that in itself helps build not just my business, but their business and their relationships as well.
Absolutely. And both of your teams are growing rapidly in APAC. So we want to find out more about the opportunities that you have for your teams and also how the people in your teams can achieve career success. So what are the different opportunities and roles for Marketplace and Audience Network?
I can go first. I'm glad you followed this up with the cross-functional piece. So when we think about the Audience Network team in APAC, the team that I directly work with is sales, and so we're responsible for driving revenues. But when we think about the Audience Network team, it's a fairly cross-functional team. So that goes from having sales folks, so client partners and account managers, to marketing, to sales ops, to partner engineering. So there's many teams that actually make up the overall Audience Network team. A couple of examples of roles that we're hiring for right now is we're hiring for a client partner for Korea. This individual would be responsible for going into the market and acquiring new partners. And so think of it as new business development. Another role that we're hiring for is in our SMB team, which is the small and medium businesses team, which is focused on smaller scale publishers and app developers. And we're looking for an account manager that is going to help folks in Korea and Japan, so somebody who's well versed with both languages. Here's my plugin. So the best way to keep on top of this is really to go to facebook.com/careers and pick your location, and all the roles are listed there.
For sure. And Christine?
So we've been hiring quite a fair bit over the last 6 months. While there are no immediate openings at this point, we will continue to be growing this team and looking for individuals that will join this team, this really fun, amazing team. The thing that we look for is really not, whilst we are a marketplace and we talk about commerce, we don't intuitively look for people with direct commerce experience, and that's not a requirement. We want to look for individuals that are passionate and curious, who are very flexible and nimble to be able to play around with different things. Because the product is so early and we are learning as we go, it's part of how we build products in Facebook. It's a really iterative process. And being an iterative process, it means that there are times where you're going to win and you feel excited about the success that you're building. But there are times where you have to embrace failure and learn from those failures and be able to move forward and motivate yourself quickly. There are times where certain products will just change dramatically and become something that's very different from what you thought you started off with. And when individuals are curious, excited, and they are able to actually learn things as they go, they get passionate about the difference that they are bringing to connecting more people, connecting more businesses, and that's what we look for. We want to look for people who has those traits, people who have very diverse work experience. That can bring a lot of value from the cultures that they have exposure to, from the skills that they have developed, from the business experience that they have built, for us to actually tap into that and engage with different businesses and help those businesses to find success as well. So essentially, it's not just about us building a commerce business, but us helping businesses to find success on the platform and us being able to connect and know how buyers, shoppers who want to be able to experience their shopping experience on Facebook Marketplace.
Absolutely. And I think that leads very nicely into the next question that we have. I mean, we always receive a lot of questions from the audience in terms of the kind of skill sets and experience that you typically look for. So, can you break that down in terms of the type of experiences, that you typically hire for when you...
So over the last couple of months as we were hiring, we typically look for people with a fair amount of 8 to 10 years work experience. It's great to be able to see people that has a mix of somewhat corporate experience and also startup experience. You've gone through how to actually appreciate structure, but yet be able to break away from the structure and be very nimble and test new things, challenge yourself, discover new things. In terms of diversity of cultures, we do in certain instances look for individuals that comes from a diverse set of cultures just to help us better appreciate and go deeper into those cultures, especially markets that we're less familiar with. There's very rich commerce experience that we want to tap into. We don't have, again, like I say, don't have a very strong preference on individuals that have direct e-commerce experience. I think it's a good to have, but again, with individuals that comes from a very deep set experience in a particular vertical, the bias sometimes that we are concerned about is that they tend to over pivot on a particular belief that they have. And we want individuals to actually appreciate the fact that Facebook Marketplace can be a very different sort of buying experience. It's a very social experience that's not present anywhere else. And we want to be able to see individuals build that up and not just lock themselves into a more traditional e-commerce sort of experience
Makes
and
sense.
belief.
So that's about the learning agility and just be able to think broadly about marketplace. Awesome. And how about you, Ashwin?
A lot of what she said. So I think just to repeat a couple of things that she said. One is, I think, diversity. I think that's important because we want people that can look at the same thing in many different ways and think of all possible outcomes. The second piece is the ability for risk taking. And so, you know, if I just look at this journey of, you know, I've been here for almost 3 years, and if I was to take a look at how many times we've either pivoted, you know, we thought something was going to work, but then it didn't, and we moved to something else, or we launched something new. That seems to happen about every 2 to 3 months. And so, you know, having somebody who's very comfortable with change is important. So folks that come from startup experiences tend to have that. This is just very high level generic. In terms of domain expertise, because we're in the business of helping publishers, app developers monetize via ads, we do look at folks that have deep ad tech experience. You know, ad tech is reasonably complex as an ecosystem, and so we look for folks that have worked with either news media publishers, core app developers like gaming companies, or content owners, whether it be OTT players, broadcasters, or the new age internet content companies, and have taken a look at how those companies think about their core businesses, and hopefully then also have worked with them in terms of thinking about how to monetize, how to scale that business. And that's because what we focus on is really being that partner that they can come to and talk to, and not just think about ads, but think about overall, when we think about a 5-year, 10-year horizon, how are we working together to build that sustainable long-term business? And so those are some of the things that we look at.
Absolutely. And I think you've both answered this in part already, but what are some of the common attributes of your top performers?
I would say that, again, it's similar to the attributes that we talk about, right? The ability for you to stay, embrace change, be very nimble, be very inquisitive. In a new business, the only way you can actually grow that business and mold that business and change that business and push it forward is to be curious about what could be rather than what it is. And so a lot of the performers that I've seen that have done really well are individuals that are passionate about commerce, and it's a deep set passion around just how do I actually unlock this, and asking a lot of questions, pushing a lot of the challenges, and challenging the norms. We of course look for people that wants to have fun as well. It can't be just all work and no fun. And interestingly, the best performers are those that have a really good balance of being very hardworking, spending a lot of time on the road, spending time with partners, but then within that, finding a lot of fun as well within the team and with our partners.
Great. Ashwin?
So I think the ability to be able to change and adapt to change and pivot, I mean, that's something that's very core at what we look at. I think the second piece for us is because we're in a fairly complicated tech ecosystem, we try and make sure that folks that are on the team are highly analytical, you know, numbers oriented, and are problem solvers. And then the one thing that I personally look for is a key trait for me is somebody who puts team before themselves. And that's important because back to what we were talking earlier, I mean, this is all about cross-functional collaboration, right? And so you're not always going to be at the forefront of either getting credit or being the one that drives certain projects. Most of the times you're actually part of a larger team, and so folks that can work really well in the team environment. And then the last part, which I sometimes think becomes the most important part, is are you going to fit in with the culture of the team? And,
Yep.
and the team does tend to have, work really, really hard, but tend to also have fun with each other. Most of them are friends, and so making sure that somebody that can fit in culturally is probably the single most important thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, what is it like to be part of your teams? What is it like working with your teams?
So we are a team of builders. We love building things. That goes back to why I say a number of times that we are inquisitive bunch. We are curious and we want to actually know things and discover things. We have a lot of fun as a team, I would say. And part of that discovery process that we band together to actually uncover as a team is what makes the whole journey really fun. So we tend to travel a lot together, but it's a small team as well. We push our partners to help us understand things a lot. And so part of that journey that makes this team really fun is just the ability for us to connect with a lot of businesses across a very diverse set of verticals or categories. And that's how we build ourselves as individuals to actually learn more. And so it's a building and learning team, I would say.
Great. Ashwin?
What is it like? So there's so many facets to this. So I think, what is it like to work in the team? So we move pretty fast, which I think is consistent with almost all the teams at Facebook. B, I think even though you might have individuals that are focused on a single market, they have to focus on a single market across many, many different verticals and many, many different types of partners that are very different companies. And so you need to be able to be somebody that is context switching, and so that tends to be a part of everybody's life. You're spending your morning with one gaming company, and then you're ending the evening with a traditional news and media publication, and being able to think through that is what folks do. And then we, like Christine said, we spend a lot of time on the road. Most of my team is probably traveling at least half the time, if not more, and so that tends to be a part of everybody's life. Which is why, when you have the opportunity, you make sure you take a moment and have a fun moment with your colleagues.
Okay, thank you so much. And we are now taking questions live from the floor. So this is a question from Samit Agarwal. Hi Ashwin, how do you see Facebook further ramping up RPM, especially in India, Southeast Asia, where migration from desktop to mobile has been rapid and Facebook had already leveraged its powerful cross-device identity and audience?
Sure. So thank you for the questions, Samit, right?
Yep.
So a few things. One, I think India is a super important market for us. When we got started, like I was mentioning, we started off as an in-app ad network, and when you think about the way that consumer usage has evolved in India, it's fairly spread today evenly across desktop, mobile web, and in-app. With I think in-app and mobile web growing faster, relatively speaking, than desktop. And so what we're focused on in India is, number one, we launched our in-stream video product last year, and so we're starting to work with a lot of the video content companies and ensuring that we can bring in-stream video ads to India. The second piece is, and this is not specific to the Indian publishers, but it's more specific to the Indian users. As you think about the gaming ecosystem evolving globally, what's happening with markets like India and Southeast Asia is that a lot of the games that are being used in those markets by consumers are casual games that are not in-app purchase heavy, but they tend to be monetized via ads. And so we're starting to work with a lot of the global partners that we have in helping them build sustainable LTV models for gaming developers in India. For the users in India. And then the last part, which is, the third leg of kind of growth that we're focused on, is really around news and media content companies. And so Instant Articles, which is an on-Facebook surface product that we've launched, is doing really, really well. We are continuing to push towards making sure that we make it more and more relevant, and not necessarily just from an RPM perspective, but really from a user experience perspective as well. And so those would be kind of the three broad buckets of focus for India for us.
Okay, great. And next question is from Robin Lin. So I think this is for the both of you. Can you share one favorite thing about Facebook's culture? And are there any career opportunities for Burmese citizens?
My favorite is nothing in Facebook is someone else's problem. And it goes back to the whole cross-functional angle and the partnership angle that we have internally within Facebook. I've learned that many times across my 1.5 years in Facebook, where every time when there's a call for help, whether it's just learning something that's new or that seriously is something that's broken that needs help, you never feel that you are handicapped. In any instances, there's somebody who's always willing to call it out and help you. If you really need to call it out, someone will always put up their hands to actually offer help. And that's a really encouraging place to be in, that you never feel that you're alone and someone always have your back here. So that's one of the key, I wouldn't say it's a value, but it's something that we somehow have lived as part of Facebook, and we appreciate, every one of us have gone through that experience. I really appreciate it. Opportunities are always available for anyone. That's the reason why we've said many times between Ashley and myself that we look for diversity in our teams. And so that whether you're Burmese or whether you're Singaporean, we definitely welcome anyone. It's all about having the right values that fits into Facebook, having the right experience, and having the right passion for the work that we are focused on.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, so second that, I think opportunities exist for everybody. And so, you should feel free to, whether it's, I'm not sure whether the question was around personal opportunity or business opportunity, but either ways, we're definitely open and there's tons of opportunity. In terms of favorite Facebook values, there are so many. I'll probably pick the one that I'm living right now, which is prioritization hurts. And so,
ruthless prioritization.
Yeah, exactly. And so this comes from one of the execs from product engineering who spoke to us at an offsite, and it's always stuck with us, where we have so many different things that we could be doing. And you only have that many resources, so you always are constantly prioritizing. But the true measure of whether or not you've prioritized enough is that it actually hurts to let go of something. And until you feel like you're hurting, you really haven't prioritized enough. And I bring that up. I mean, there's so many others, but I bring that up because that's one that I seem to be living a lot these days.
I think we all can feel, we can feel you. So the next question is from Andre, and it's for Christine. So hi Christine, as a feedback, I have noticed a few issues with marketplace search results, where results don't match the search criteria, and saved search results, mostly images that are displayed, are often not related to the saved search. So will the team be looking to improve the user experience for marketplace? I'm very interested in becoming a content moderator or provide assistance in improving Facebook Marketplace.
So it's Andre, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Andre, for the question. And thank you for flagging this feedback. We always welcome feedback with the user experience. The product, as I mentioned, is actually pretty new still, and we are continuously trying to build and enhance the product further. And feedback like this is highly valuable for us. A lot of times when we build products, we dogfood that internally a lot, hoping that we will make sure that as the product goes out into market, it's a good experience for the users and businesses that are actually on the platform. In many instances, as it goes out, given the scale that it's actually going out, there are instances where certain versions of the product may be broken, and it's important for us to be able to get the feedback and be aware of these experiences. This that you have flagged for us is a great opportunity for us to actually take it back to our product engineering team to uncover the challenges that we have on the product, and we will continue to iterate and build on it. So fixing search is definitely one of the key priorities for us as well.
Okay. One more for you, Christine. This question is from Manoj Kumar Sethi. Hi, Christine. How will the Facebook team build trust for marketplace and payments via Facebook or Messenger apps, given that many consumers use many other shopping apps and do payment transactions on different platforms?
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you for your question. I would say that trust is something that is, and I mentioned this as one of the key differentiators for Facebook Marketplace. Trust is one that's really embedded in Facebook because of the ability for buyers and sellers to recognize identity between each other on Facebook. And that for us essentially is a big differentiator that's already present, and we want to make sure that we continue tapping on that. As you talk about payments and the ability for us to facilitate payments, some of which are early experiments that we have started to test because of the demand that businesses have actually requested from us. And we want to make sure that we tap into those demands that are present from users, business or buyers that they want from us. And so, excuse me, I would say that in certain markets like US and now beginning in Europe, where Messenger has actually enabled payments, we are funding a lot of those conversational type commerce from individual to individual sellers, so consumer to consumer sellers, onto that channel in order to facilitate a more seamless, smooth experience to close their transactions. We noticed that that sort of demand is also coming through in a number of markets in Asia, and we're testing this in a couple of markets, example being Thailand, where the adoption of Messenger and businesses coming onto Messenger to actually converse and then fulfilling on the transaction is actually pretty high. We've enabled some form of not just payments on Messenger to facilitate that transaction, but also a couple of seller tools like invoicing on Messenger to actually help smoothen that process. So it's something that I wouldn't say that we will be that reactive to actually jump on unlocking it, because payment is hyper-local and it's challenging to be able to scale that very quickly. But we're picking markets where we are seeing very healthy commerce activities that has a very strong demand for certain tools like this, and unlocking that in those markets to help us learn. Again, it's a learning process. Learn and iterate and build it to be better for us to bring it to other markets that are seeking that same demand.
Great. So that was our last question. Thank you both so much for sharing. I've personally enjoyed hearing from both of you, and I'm sure our audience did too. So thank you so much for joining us and tuning in to our live session. If you have any more questions, please leave them down in the comments or visit our careers page on facebook.com/careers. We'll see you at the next session. Thank you so much. Bye.